Hi, this is Carl, and this is another SOP video for managed service providers. Today I want to talk about what financial reports should you run and how frequently. I would recommend that you start by literally taking out a piece of paper and writing down weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually, and then fill in those categories. I love to look at cash flow, but you can't look at cash flow every day. It's sort of like watching your stocks, every day, up 6, down 5, down 4, down 3, up 1, up 7, blah, blah, blah. Cash flow is something that you need to pay attention to enough to make sure that you're in good shape for the next 2 payrolls. So what I do is I look at how much cash we have in the bank, what's coming in the next, say, 5 days, 7 days, and then how much is going out. Which bills are we actually going to pay? Don't worry about the big picture for this. And the big picture is, are we making money? Is it profitable? All of that. That's all good. That's a separate discussion. Cash flow is about how many actual dollars do I have in the bank when it comes time for payroll. So you should run enough cash flow and figure out your best guess of how much money you will actually receive and how much money you will actually spend between now and the next payroll, and then between that payroll and the one after that. That usually for most of us is 2 weeks and 4 weeks, right? So that's something that I think you should do once a week at a minimum, twice a week if you're having a financial crunch. And during a recession is a great time to get in the habit of watching this cash flow and being careful about how you spend money and who is paying you and paying you in a timely manner. So that's kind of the only weekly thing that I think you have to do, but you may choose to do other things more frequently as well. On the monthly list, I love to make sure that people are looking at their financials and saying, okay, how much revenue did we bring in? Now, revenue is part of that big picture. Revenue doesn't mean that you got paid. It doesn't mean that you have the dollars in your hand. If I send you an invoice for $1,000, I have revenue of $1,000, but I don't have the money. I don't have the cash until that gets paid. So revenue is good, big picture. Also, expenses. If I am paying for tools, whether that's an RMM, PSA, whatever it might be, and I have money going out and it's all scheduled to be paid, $1,000, let's say, in the next 3 weeks, that is also part of the big picture. But again, the money doesn't actually leave my bank until it leaves my bank. So you need to run reports so that you understand, are you making money or losing money? But you also have to understand there's a big difference between cash and accrual. On an accrual basis, you can be making lots of money, but if nobody's paying you, you are losing cash. And so in the end, even so-called profitable businesses have a cash flow crunch because they borrow money to pay bills instead of waiting to actually have the cash in their bank. And so they end up paying it back, or mostly paying it back, and they end up having debt grow a little bit at a time over time, and it becomes part of your personal debt instead of being part of the profit from your company. So pay really good attention to this just to make sure that you don't start slipping in the wrong direction. So I think that profit and loss is something that I'd like to see people do, again, at least once a month. Absolutely and definitively, you should do monthly, quarterly, and annual checkups on your profit and loss report. You should have a good, solid profit and loss report that you run out of QuickBooks or Sage or whatever you're using all the time. You should be familiar with this. If I were to take you on as a coaching client today, I would want to see your P&L. And if you say, well, I'll have my accountant get a hold of that, and I only look at that every 3 months, we already have a problem. You should know what your profit and loss looks like. You should know. I should be able to pick out a number from that long list and say, explain that to me. Why is that so large? What do you put into marketing versus advertising, and how do you define the difference? And it may not be the same as me, and that doesn't matter. You need to have an explanation for every line on that. Don't turn this over to an accountant or a bookkeeper and then have it be out of your brain altogether. You need to have a handle on your finances. Other monthly reports that I like to see, I actually like a report that says, here are the largest clients, the largest 10 clients in the last month. So, if this is October, then it's these are the largest clients for the month of September. And put them in order from largest to smallest. You don't have to show your employees the numbers, but ask them to guess which are the largest clients last month. You'd be amazed. What you're going to get is a list of people who are the loudest, not the largest. They always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, here's the deal. Clients appear to be bigger clients to your employees if they make a lot more noise. In the meantime, you've got somebody who's quietly paying you a ton of money and not being a pain in the neck. Your employees don't see them as being big clients simply because they don't take up a lot of time. But you should have this list. Who are your largest clients? I also like to see a list of the most profitable months in your company's history and the biggest revenue months in your company's history. Those are not the same thing, I'm sure you know. Basically, take a list of 12 months, the 12 most profitable months in the history of your business, and put them in order from most to least profitable. And then take a list of the biggest revenue months from the highest revenue to the lowest revenue among the 12 biggest, and make that list. And every month, the goal is to kind of notch that list up. Ideally, when there's no recession, at least 50% to maybe 75% of those months should be from the previous 12 months. In other words, year after year, you should be constantly having months fall off of that list and new months being added so that your most profitable months and your biggest revenue months are going to be among the most recent months. And speaking of recessions, are there exceptions to these rules during a recession? No. You still need to generate those reports, even if you're not replacing any of your most profitable months or your largest revenue months. You should also just be generating these reports automatically. So, in fact, this is a great chore to hand over to an administrative assistant, an office manager, or even the bookkeeper. You should have your fingers on the pulse of your business, and that pulse is represented in dollar signs. For Small Biz Thoughts, this is Carl Palachuk wishing you the best of luck in your managed service business. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell so you can be notified when we post a new video.